Think about the last time you watched someone older move through a crowded space with complete ease. No hesitation at the curb, no reaching for a wall when the terrain changed, no white-knuckled grip on a shopping cart. Just quiet, unhurried confidence. Now, think about someone you know, maybe even yourself, who has started to feel a little less sure-footed lately, who grabs the railing every time just in case, who mentally maps out the safest route before crossing a parking lot, who has quietly started saying no to things simply because the ground isn't flat enough. What exactly is the difference between those two people? It isn't age, it isn't luck, and it isn't some rare physical gift. The difference, in almost every case, comes down to a handful of subtle but powerful adjustments in the way a person walks. Habits so specific, so learnable, and yet so rarely talked about that most people go their entire lives without ever hearing about them. Here is a number worth sitting with. 1 in 4 adults over the age of 65 falls at least once every year. And they don't just cause physical harm, they trigger a fear cycle that quietly dismantles independence. People start avoiding stairs, then outdoor walks, then social events. The world gets smaller, and it happens gradually enough that it can seem almost normal. But here is what the research makes clear. It does not have to be this way. A distinct group of older adults, women in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, maintains remarkable stability and walks without the constant mental calculation that fear of falling creates. They are not doing anything heroic. They are not spending hours in the gym. They have simply, often without realizing it, learned to walk differently. Geriatric physical therapists call the techniques these adults use walking secrets, not because they are hidden, but because they are almost never taught proactively. You tend to hear about them only after a fall, in a rehabilitation setting, when you are already trying to recover lost confidence. But there's no reason to wait for that. Today, we are going to go through all 7 of them, and I want to be honest with you, none of these are complicated. You won't need equipment, a gym membership, or even much extra time. What you will need is a willingness to pay attention to something you have been doing automatically for your entire life, walking, and make a few quiet, powerful changes. One of these 7 secrets involves something you probably do dozens of times a day, completely backward, without any idea it is increasing your fall risk. We'll get to that one too. But first, let me introduce you to someone who went from 3 falls in 6 months to hiking moderate trails with her grandchildren all within a year. Her name is Margaret, and her story is exactly why these techniques matter. Margaret is 72, a retired teacher, and 12 months ago she experienced 3 falls in 6 months. The last one broke her wrist and rattled her confidence so badly she started declining invitations to go out. Her daughter was quietly researching in-home care options. I felt like my body was betraying me. I used to walk 5 miles on the weekends without thinking twice. Then suddenly I was afraid of my own hallway, Margaret told me. After working with a geriatric physical therapist and implementing the 7 techniques we're about to cover, Margaret walks daily again. She recently attended her granddaughter's outdoor graduation ceremony, stood the whole time, walked back to the car across a gravel parking lot on her own. Her daughter cried. So did she. Her transformation wasn't magic, and it wasn't medication. It was a complete rethinking of how she moved her body, starting from the eyes and ending at the feet. Let's get into it.
Secret number 1. Where your eyes go, your body follows. The 3-point gaze technique. Let me ask you something personal. Where do you look when you walk? If you're like a lot of women over 70, the honest answer is probably down. You look at the ground just ahead of your feet, scanning for cracks, curbs, and anything that might trip you. That instinct makes complete sense, but here's what the research tells us. Looking down actually makes you more likely to fall, not less. When your gaze drops toward the ground, a whole chain of physical events follows. Your head tips forward, which shifts your center of gravity, your shoulders round, the muscles in your neck and upper back tighten up, and most critically, your brain's balance system, which needs a panoramic sense of your surroundings to do its job, starts working with incomplete information. This is where the three-point gaze technique changes everything. Point 1. Your near point. Set your gaze about 10 to 15 feet ahead of you, not at your feet. This still gives you plenty of warning for obstacles, while your peripheral vision handles anything closer. Point 2. Your far point. Every 10 to 15 seconds, lift your eyes to look at the horizon or your destination. This one simple movement naturally straightens your spine and resets your posture. Think of it as a free posture correction. Point 3, your peripheral awareness. Rather than turning your head to check for hazards, practice consciously expanding your side vision. With a little practice, you can detect movement and obstacles without looking directly at them. Your eyes are leading your whole body. Point them in the right direction. Secret number 2. The way your foot hits the ground matters more than you think. The heel-to-toe roll. Watch a toddler walk sometime. Their stride has a beautiful fluidity. Heel touches down, the foot rolls forward, and they push off with the toes. It's effortless and surprisingly stable for someone so small. Now watch many older adults walk. You might notice something different. Either the whole foot lands flat at once or the toes touch down first. Both of these patterns, common and usually unconscious, create real problems. Flat-footed walking eliminates the natural shock absorption built into your gait. Toe-first walking is like trying to balance on a fence rail. Your base of support shrinks to almost nothing. Either way, you're asking your body to manage instability it was never designed to handle. The technique you want is called the heel-to-toe roll, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Your heel contacts the ground first, your weight rolls smoothly along the outer edge of your foot, and you push off through your toes to complete the step. This creates a stable triangular base of support through every stride and allows your ankle to absorb impact the way it was designed to do. If foot pain or arthritis makes heel striking uncomfortable, start with shorter, slower steps and work up gradually. Good supportive footwear matters enormously here too. We'll get to that in secret number 5. A practical way to practice: find a clear stretch of floor or sidewalk and walk slowly, placing conscious attention on each phase of the step: heel, roll, toe. Spend 10 minutes a day doing this deliberately, and within 2 to 3 weeks, it starts to feel automatic.
Secret number 3. Your stomach has everything to do with your balance. Core engagement, the zip-up technique. Here's something that surprises most people. Your core muscles are your primary stabilizing system when you walk. Not your legs, not your hips, your core. The problem is that as we get older, most of us unconsciously stop using our core muscles during everyday movement. We let the midsection go soft while we walk, and the body compensates by putting more strain on the back, hips, and knees. That's a chain reaction that leads directly to instability. The good news is that re-engaging your core doesn't require any exercise equipment. It doesn't even require a gym. Physical therapists teach a technique called the zip-up, and it can be practiced anywhere, invisibly, at any time. Here's how it works. Imagine gently drawing your belly button toward your spine, not sucking in your stomach, not clenching, just a soft internal lift and tightening, about 20 to 30% of your maximum effort. It's subtle enough that no one around you would know you're doing it. You should be able to breathe normally and carry on a conversation at the same time. One caution: the most common mistake is over-engaging. If your breathing becomes strained or you feel rigid rather than supported, ease off.
This is about gentle, sustainable stability, not a plank. Secret number 4, your arms are a balancing system. Are you using them? The 45-degree arm swing reset. This is the one most people find genuinely surprising, and it's what I mean when I say many of us are doing something completely backward every day without realizing it. Here's the thing. About arms, they're not just along for the ride. They function as natural counterweights. When your right foot steps forward, your left arm should swing forward to match it. This opposing motion stabilizes your torso and prevents the kind of rotational twist that can tip you sideways. But watch a lot of older adults walk, and you'll notice something different. Arms held stiffly at their sides, hands folded in front. Maybe a small, tight movement, but nothing fluid or natural. This isn't laziness, it's usually a habit that crept in slowly, often as a result of past anxiety about falling. We brace ourselves without realizing it. Frozen arms mean your lower body is working without its natural counterbalance, which increases the effort your body has to put into every step and decreases your ability to recover from a stumble. The technique physical therapists recommend is called the 45-degree arm swing. Your elbow bends at roughly 45 degrees, and your arm swings naturally front to back, not crossing in front of your body. At the back of the swing, your hand passes just beside your hip pocket. A simple 3-day reset practice. Day 1, exaggerate the swing slightly for 5 minutes to reawaken the movement pattern. Day 2, walk with natural arm swing, paying attention to the synchronization, right foot forward, left arm forward. Day 3, focus on releasing tension in your shoulders while maintaining the swing. The most common error is swinging arms across the front of the body, rather than front to back. Think of your arms as pendulums moving in parallel lanes. They should never cross your center line.
Secret number 5. Your feet are talking to your brain. Is your footwear letting them? Foot strength and the right shoes. Of all the secrets in this list, this one tends to generate the most surprised reactions because most of us have been told that more cushion equals more safety. Softer soles, thicker padding, supportive inserts, and some of that has its place, but there's an important part of the story that often gets left out. As we age, 2 things happen to our feet simultaneously. First, the nerve endings in our feet, which provide your brain with constant information about the surface you're standing on, gradually become less sensitive. Second, the small muscles within the foot itself weaken from years of being enclosed in stiff, supportive footwear. The result? Your brain is receiving less ground information at the same time your feet have less intrinsic strength to respond to changes in terrain. That's a challenging combination. And then there's the footwear issue. Thick, heavily cushioned soles, the ones that feel so comfortable at the shoe store, create what podiatrists call proprioceptive insulation. They muffle the very signals your feet are trying to send to your brain. 3 features to look for in a walking shoe. A low, wide heel, not completely flat, but no more than 1 inch of height difference between heel and forefoot. A thinner, more flexible sole in the forefoot area so your foot can actually feel the ground. Secure fastening, laces or strong Velcro, not slip-ons which allow the foot to shift and create instability. Alongside better footwear, a few simple daily exercises can dramatically improve your foot strength and balance. Toe spreading. Sitting down, spread your toes as wide as possible and hold for 5 seconds. Repeat 10 times. Towel gripping. Place a small towel on the floor and use your toes to scrunch it toward you. Great for building the intrinsic muscles of the foot. Marble pickup. Practice picking up marbles or small stones with your toes and dropping them into a bowl. Excellent for dexterity and toe strength. Your feet contain around 200,000 nerve endings specifically designed to help you navigate your environment. The right footwear lets those nerves do their job. Foot exercises make sure your feet are strong enough to respond.
Secret number 6. You may be walking on a tightrope without realizing it. The widened base technique. If you've ever watched someone who looks unsteady on their feet, look at their feet. Specifically, notice how close together they are. Very often, the feet are nearly crossing over each other with each step, a narrow, line-like base that turns every stride into a tiny balancing act. This is called narrow-based walking, and it's extremely common among older adults, usually without any awareness that it's happening. Think of it like this. Walk with your feet nearly in a line, and your base of support becomes a tightrope. Walk with your feet hip-width apart, and your base of support becomes a stable rectangle. The goal of the widened base technique isn't to create an exaggerated duck-footed stance. That creates its own problems. The optimal width is simply hip width, the distance between your hip joints. For most women, that's somewhere between 6 and 12 inches between the inner edges of the feet. Margaret's therapist used a simple and ingenious practice tool. 2 parallel strips of painter's tape placed hip-width apart on the hallway floor. Several times a day, Margaret walked the hallway, keeping 1 foot on each strip. After 2 weeks, the proper width became automatic. A helpful mental image: imagine you're walking on 2 parallel train tracks. Your feet should travel on their respective tracks without crossing over. If you're tall, your tracks are naturally a bit wider. If you're shorter, slightly narrower. But the principle is the same. Next time you're walking, glance down briefly and notice, are your feet running in parallel lines or are they crossing toward the center? That awareness alone is the beginning of the change.
Secret number 7. Most falls don't happen when you're walking in a straight line. Mindful transitions, the 3-second pause. Here's something that might reframe the way you think about fall risk entirely. The majority of falls in older adults don't happen during ordinary, straight-ahead walking. They happen in the moments between movements. Researchers call these transition moments, and they include things like standing up from a chair or sofa, turning around or changing direction, stopping suddenly and then starting again, stepping sideways, such as when reaching for something, moving from one type of surface to another, carpet to tile, for example, walking through a narrow doorway. In these moments, your body is in the middle of recalibrating. Your balance system is adjusting to a new situation, and if you rush through that adjustment, especially as proprioception, your body's sense of its own position in space, naturally decreases with age, that's when things go wrong. The mindful transitions technique addresses this with something almost embarrassingly simple: a deliberate pause before changing movement. Before you stand up, before you turn, before you step off the porch, stop for 3 seconds. During those 3 seconds, stabilize your current position, gently engage your core, secret number 3, look at where you're going, then move. For turning specifically, physical therapists recommend what's called the pivot and step method instead of a twist. Rather than swinging your upper body around while your feet stay planted, which puts enormous torque on your spine and ankles, you pause, then pick up your foot and place it in the new direction before the rest of your body follows. Margaret placed small red dot stickers at her highest risk transition points, beside her favorite chair, at the bottom of the stairs, at the bathroom threshold. Each dot was a reminder to pause. Within a few months, she removed the dots. The pause had become reflex. How the 7 secrets work together. Here's what's important to understand. These aren't 7 separate tricks. They're a system, and like any good system, the parts reinforce each other. The 3-point gaze technique supports proper posture, which makes heel-to-toe rolling more natural. Core engagement provides the internal stability that allows your arms to swing freely. The widened base creates the foundation from which mindful transitions become easier to execute. When you practice all 7 together, something shifts, not just in how you walk, but in how you feel while walking. Let's do a quick review. Secret number 1, the 3-point gaze. Look 10 to 15 feet ahead, lift your eyes to the horizon every 10 to 15 seconds, and expand your peripheral awareness.
Secret number 2, the heel-to-toe roll. Heel contact first, weight rolls along the outer foot, push off through the toes. Secret number 3, core engagement, the zip-up. Gently draw the belly button toward the spine, about 20 to 30% effort, sustainably maintained while breathing normally. Secret number 4, the 45-degree arm swing. Arms bend at 45 degrees, swinging front to back in parallel lanes, synchronized with the opposing foot. Secret number 5, foot strength and proper footwear. Low, wide heel, flexible forefoot sole, secure fastening. Daily toe spreads, towel gripping, and marble pickups. Secret number 6, the widened base. Maintain hip-width spacing between feet, walking on parallel tracks, never crossing the center line. Secret number 7, mindful transitions. Pause 3 seconds before every directional change, stabilize, engage core, look ahead, then move.
A 7-day plan to make these habits your own. Rather than trying to implement all 7 changes simultaneously, here's a structured approach that builds each habit on a solid foundation. Day 1. Focus entirely on the 3-point gaze. For all of today's walking, practice looking 10 to 15 feet ahead and lifting your eyes to the horizon regularly. Day 2. Add the heel-to-toe roll. Walk slowly and deliberately, paying attention to each phase of the step. Day 3. Introduce core engagement. Connect the zip-up to your breathing. Engage slightly on the exhale. Day 4. Add arm swing. Notice the synchronization. Right foot forward, left arm forward. Practice releasing shoulder tension. Day 5. Evaluate your footwear and begin the 3 foot exercises. Toe spreads, towel gripping, marble pickup. Just a few minutes each. Day 6. Focus on the widened base. If you have a hallway, lay down painter's tape. Walk your tracks several times throughout the day. Day 7. Implement mindful transitions. Identify your 3 to 5 highest risk moments at home and practice the 3-second pause at each one. After that first week, take 2 to 3 minutes before each walk to mentally run through all 7 points. Think of it as a quick pre-flight check. Within a few months, you won't need to think through them anymore. They'll simply be how you move. I want to close with something Margaret said that I think captures what's really at stake here. Before she learned these techniques, she had started saying no to things. No to the outdoor concert her friends invited her to. No to her granddaughter's birthday party at the park. No to the trip to New York she'd been planning for years. Not because she was sick, not because she was frail, but because she was afraid of falling, and that fear had quietly begun to shrink her world. That's what these 7 secrets ultimately give you, not just better balance, not just fewer falls, a life that doesn't revolve around fear of the ground beneath your feet. Falls aren't inevitable. They're not simply a matter of bad luck or aging bodies. In the majority of cases, they're the result of correctable movement patterns, and movement patterns, no matter how long they've been in place, can be changed. The brain's capacity to learn new physical habits doesn't expire at 70 or 80 or beyond. The 7 techniques here are backed by research, recommended by specialists, and proven in real people's lives. But more than that, they're learnable by you, starting today. If you found these ideas helpful, please share this with someone you care about, a friend, a sister, a neighbor who's been a little wobbly lately. Because knowing this information isn't just useful, it could genuinely change someone's life. And one last thing, which of these 7 secrets resonates most with you? Which one surprised you? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Thank you for watching. Take care and be well.